Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Don Wick, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Skagit County, welcome to tonight's candidate forum. Thank you for being here. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization which formed an active participation in government. This forum is part of our ongoing voter education efforts to help voters make informed decisions at the upcoming elections. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn more about the candidates and what they hope to accomplish when elected. And I do want to say, if you are not a member of the League of Women Voters, we welcome you to join. There are membership forms just out in the hallway. When you go out of the table to your right, we encourage you to get a membership form and look at it. And hopefully, if you're not a member, you will join us. So thank you to the League of Women Voters of Skagit County, President Jane Builders, timekeepers Wendy Sanderson and Bev Herbst, and the organizing committee. I will now turn the meeting over to our moderator. Let's hear it for Amy Erie. Yes.
Thank you, Don Wick. Welcome to this candidates forum. All candidates for the primary election were contacted and invited to attend. We want you to know that we are really excited that this is being recorded and broadcast on TV 10 and Mount Vernon YouTube channel. And we'll also have this posted on the League of Women Voters website. I'll start by explaining some of the procedures for the forum. Each candidate is invited to make an opening and closing statement of 1.5 minutes each, and will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. We'll start in alphabetical order and rotate with each question. The timekeepers are sitting here in the front row. The timekeepers will indicate when there are 30 seconds remaining and then when 10 seconds are remaining to finish your answer. Please wrap up when you see the stop card. Personal references about other candidates are out of order, and we ask that everyone turn off your cell phones, and please no recording of the candidates. Please remain quiet throughout the forum. No clapping, cheering, or calling out, with the exception that after their closing statements, you may clap for all the candidates. The campaign literature is not allowed inside this room, but it is out in the hallway. Okay, so we're going to start with the candidates for Skagit Port District 2, Commissioner Position 2. And we're going to start with Keith Chaplin, and he'll give us his opening statement.
Hi there. I'm Keith Chaplin. I'm running for Port Commission. I built my life and career on adaptability, problem solving, and self-sufficiency. Qualities I'll bring to the Port of Skagit every day. As a news reporter in Washington and Alaska, I learned the value of transparency, accountability, and clear communication in public service. For the past 13 years, I worked as a general contractor, building homes across Skagit County. That experience, along with my service on the Burlington City Council, has made me a more pragmatic, collaborative, and strategic thinker. I understand how vital coordination between local governments, ports, businesses, and residents is to our region's success. On council, I served on every committee, from audit and finance to public safety and public works, to gain a deep analytical understanding of how effective government works. I championed public communication and helped launch a city newsletter to keep residents informed. I also advocated for safer infrastructure and long-term investment that benefit future generations. The port should model those same values, work efficiently, support industry, including agriculture, and create space for innovation and entrepreneurship. I'll bring a fresh perspective, a builder's mindset, and a long-term commitment to Skagit County, and I'd be honored for your vote.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Next, we have Melanie Mankemeyer.
Good evening. My name is Melanie Mankemeyer, and I am the current Port of Skagit Commissioner for District 2. I was honored to be appointed in November by my fellow commissioners to fill the vacancy left by the untimely passing of my predecessor. It would be my privilege to continue to serve as your Port Commissioner. I spent nearly 30 years as a civil engineer and business owner at Wilson Engineering. I have a considerable experience with public works projects and long-term capital planning, which are useful skills for a port commissioner. In the last 8 months, I've seen the ins and outs of the port, the growth it generates for this economy, the jobs it develops for Skagit County. Our port is at the forefront of improving rural broadband infrastructure and enhancing local agriculture through initiatives like the Genuine Skagit labeling. We are redeveloping the historic Northern State Hospital campus in Cedar-Woolley and continue to add trails for public access there. My priorities moving forward are to continue developing our business centers, revitalize the Lacana Marina, support local agriculture, and continue to expand broadband access in our rural communities.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Next, we have Edwin Stickle.
Once upon a time, a small boy, actually a 2-week-old baby, took his first airplane flight, flying on a pre-jet era piston engine airliner to California. And then shortly after, taking a long series of flights halfway around the world to where his parents had been posted in India. And so began a long fascination with airplanes and airports. He went on to almost become an air traffic controller, and he eventually became a certified A&P mechanic and private pilot. He learned to fly when he was 16 and 17 years old, completing his college degree in aviation maintenance management by the time he was 22. He worked as an airplane mechanic, and then he changed paths and went to medical school. He now works part-time in aviation as an FAA-designated senior medical examiner, performing flight physicals for pilots, doing his small part to keep the airspace safe. In addition, I have years of experience in commercial property management and leasing here in Skagit County. And while I am far from a boating expert, I've had many patients with all sizes and kinds of boats, and I've learned a lot from them over my 29 years of working here in Skagit County. So my whole life, I have been in training for this Port of Skagit Commissioner position. But most of all, I believe in keeping government involvement in people's lives to a minimum. We as citizens have given up or have had taken away from us far too much influence on our activities, our property, and our day-to-day lives. Looks like I ran out of time, but I have more to say later.
Okay, thank you, Edwin Stickle. Next, we'll move on to our questions, and you'll have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Okay, we're going to start with Melanie Mankemeyer. The question is, the Port of Skagit provides economic and transportation infrastructure to promote the growth of a strong economy in Skagit County while valuing the area's natural assets and quality of life. Are there any specific industries or infrastructure needs that you would advocate for in this position?
I would advocate for the rural broadband that the port is working on right now with both the Fur Island and Bow Hill area, and that there's the additional applications for extending the broadband into additional areas outside of those two project areas in upcoming futures in District 2.
Okay, all right, thank you, Melanie. Next is Ed Stickle. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Are there any specific industries or infrastructure needs that you would advocate for in this position?
You know, as a former aircraft mechanic, I really support partnering with Skagit Valley College or some other private or public education program to base an A&P aviation mechanic school on our port campus. Aircraft repair and manufacturing, boat repair and manufacturing, both of them thriving industries in our area, need to continue to attract bright and capable high school graduates who will be a source of renewal for our local aviation and other port businesses. We need to do our part to replace the workers who age out and retire each year.
Okay, thank you, Ed. And next we have Keith Chappell.
Repeat the question one more time, please.
Yeah, sure. Are there any specific industries or infrastructure needs that you would advocate for in this position?
The industry that I think about in Skagit County is the agriculture business. This county is run here because of farmers. I think that making sure that the port is working to recruit the agricultural added service value added agricultural businesses. And one of those that I work with right now, I'm actually building the barn for Viva Farms just outside of the port. It's a small farm business incubator project, and seeing that they are full at capacity already. I think there's a big need for focusing on the agricultural community and the value add businesses that make up that industry.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Next question. What do you see as the economic challenges that the port will face over the next 5 to 10 years? And we'll start with Ed Stickle.
You know, the forward-facing areas of the port, the direct contact with pilots, boaters, and business owners, that's really where most of the work comes to. There's a lot of extra work that goes on involving the Swift Center and things like that. But I think supporting those industries as they grow and keeping in mind not only the rights but the interests of the citizen owners of the port would be the key thing I would want to focus on. Every decision and vote that the commission makes is really a direct question of, does this continuation or change in direction impose too much or take too much for the rights of the citizen owners of the port? That's the filter I would use as a member of the Port Commission.
Okay, thank you, Ed Stickle. We've been asked that you get, there is a microphone in the room that's recording, that's getting your voice, but they're having a hard time hearing you in the back, and you might need to speak up just a little more. Okay. So Keith Chaplin, you're next.
Can you repeat the question?
What do you see as the economic challenges that the port will face over the next 5 to 10 years?
So I understand that the port, its budget it relies on a mix of property taxes, tenant leases, grants, and business revenue. I think one area that is going to be a struggle moving forward is depending on grants and the grant opportunities that the port could be using. So making sure that the city or that the port has a good financial standing based on the revenue sources that it already has without depending on larger grants that might not be coming anymore.
All right, thank you, Keith. And next, Melanie.
Repeat the question, please.
What do you see as the economic challenges that the port will face over the next 5 to 10 years?
The economic challenges that the port will be facing are dealing with aging infrastructure, along with a pretty long project list of things that would be good to do for the economic development of Skagit County, and balancing all of those against each other. There is going to be tighter budgets, but 80% of the port's revenue comes from fees and charges and rents, so that for the operating budget, it's a pretty healthy mix. And with the amount of work that the port will be able to do in the future will be dependent upon the ability to obtain grants, and so that might be curtailed depending on how the climate ends up.
Thank you. Okay, next question, and we'll be starting with you, Keith. One of the port's mission is to create and maintain good jobs for Skagit County. What is your interpretation of this statement?
I think that the port should be working with our local school districts, with our cities. They should be making sure that the port is not working in a silo. I think the port should be making sure that it's working with all other jurisdictions in the county to make sure that it's planning for the future for that economic growth. I see in 10 years that the Port of Skagit is a hub for innovation, for clean industry, agricultural focus, and rural prosperity. and making sure that it's financially strong, environmentally sound, and community connected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, Melanie.
For the port, and in my interpretation, the jobs are good jobs. They're living wage jobs. And so that would be the focus for the future development projects that we would be moving forward with. There's a lot of different opportunities that the port would have, and that would be one of the criteria for evaluating these projects, would be that they would produce living wage jobs.
Okay, thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine.
Okay,
I think having a training program on the port, wherever it comes from, whether we are partnering with the local colleges, local technical training school, or WSU, it adds a lot to the vitality and the energy that is essential to keep growing and to attract businesses to this community. So I think the port needs to put a lot more effort into training programs for local and other transferring students.
okay. Thank you, Edwin Stickle. Next question. What are your qualifications that make you the optimal candidate for the Port Commissioner?
My qualifications are that I'm a licensed professional engineer. I've practiced civil engineering for over 30 years. I have a background with a lot of emphasis on public works and capital planning. I'm also the current Port Commissioner and have performed in that position for the last 8 months. Been a member of the Skagit community for over 30 years and am passionate about what the port does. That's why I volunteered to become a Port Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Next, Edwin Stickle.
I'm the one candidate with a lifelong commitment to aviation, which in many ways I believe is the lifeblood of Northwest Washington. I've watched what the port has done, and I'd like to participate in the good things that I see coming down in the future, coming along. I'd like to be part of that.
Okay, thank you. And Keith Chaplin.
Read the question one more time.
Sure. What are your qualifications that make you the optimal candidate for Port Commissioner?
I'm the only person running for this position that has actually been elected to a position and can point to tangible improvements to my community based on holding that position. Driving through Burlington, the streetscapes are undergoing improvements for pedestrians and drivers' safety based on my advocacy. Residents receive a quarterly newsletter because of my initiative, and parks in the city have received huge renovations and installations of playgrounds because we did the hard work, planned, wrote grants, saved, and spent wisely on things that residents requested. And I would take that initiative to this spot.
Okay, thank you, Keith. All right, we're now moving on to the closing statements, and you'll each have 1.5 minutes for your closing statement. And we start with Edwin Stickle.
I support increasing the Port Commission to a 5-person board. This will allow more voices to be heard and more ideas to develop into projects that can add to the accomplishments that our three-person board has given us over the years. A 5-person board solves the issue of limiting one-to-one conversations between commissioners on a 3-person board, since 2 is no longer the quorum. And that's not allowed by state law unless it's a public meeting. I've participated in many public hospital commission board meetings and watched that dynamic play out. There needs to be conversations before and after the meeting. I don't think it's unreasonable to not permit that. I think the voters here are very lucky. You have 3 very accomplished, very capable candidates to vote for. I would vote for either of my opponents if I wasn't running myself. Each brings a slightly different perspective to the board, but each is organized and thoughtful and bipartisan. And good luck to my new friends here, Melanie Mankmeyer and Keith Chaplin.
Thank you. Next, we have Keith Chaplin.
So first, I'd like to thank my beautiful wife and Sarah and son Huck for coming. I really think that local politics is, being involved in local politics is really important. So I'm running because the port needs fresh leadership from someone who understands local government, has a proven track record for getting things done, communicating effectively with constituents, practicing fiscal responsibility, and making sure the port is an asset to our community as a whole, making the port's many properties and assets stand out, showcasing our world-class local businesses and quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Melanie Mankemeyer.
Thank you all for your interest in the Port of Skagit Commissioner race. As an engineer, I'm a problem solver by nature. As a commissioner, I'm someone who listens. As a resident of Skagit County, I am someone who deeply cares about this community. I believe in seeing the facts and figures before making policy decisions. I'm always looking towards the big picture and trying to figure out how the various components fit together. My years of experience in public works and planning make me the most qualified person to be the Port Commissioner for District 2. If you would like an experienced commissioner, please vote for me, Melanie Mankemeyer, the candidate with a last name that's hard to pronounce.
Thank you, Melanie. All right, that's the end of the forum for the port commissioners. Thank you, candidates. Thank you for your Okay, we welcome Demi Damon and Stephanie Lejunes. Okay, you'll each have 1.5 minutes to for your opening statement, and we'll start in alphabetical order and reverse. So we'll start with Demi.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for letting us come here today. I'm honored to be your candidate for Mount Vernon City Council. I'm running because I believe our community deserves leadership that takes action, listens, provides transparency, and has the utmost respect for the citizens of the city of Mount Vernon. I grew up out in Conway, went to Mount Vernon High School, and that's where I met my husband, Troy. We've been married 29 years. We have 2 beautiful boys, Tanner and Tripp, who we've raised here in the city of Mount Vernon. My family is my foundation, and they teach me every day that our community deserves leadership that's thoughtful, compassionate, and hardworking. Through my 30-plus years of working, volunteering, and coaching here in the Valley, I have seen firsthand what the residents' concerns truly are. The need for affordable housing, the need for more public safety, and to be consciously responsible with taxpayer dollars. I'm not here to promise quick fixes. I'm here to work. I'm here for thoughtful, inclusive, and lasting change. I will be a council member who listens before deciding and who collaborates without dividing. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you, Demi. Next, we have Stephanie Lejunes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. Since moving to Mount Vernon in 2012, I've been a director on the Mount Vernon Farmers Market Board, where we created a program that lets SNAP dollars go twice as far for local families. I've been a volunteer at the Lincoln Theater, Community to Community Development, and Moms Demand Action, and Everytown for Gun Safety. I've been a Girl Scout troop leader, a PTO mom, an MV Music Program Boosters Director. I founded Skagit Valley's first ever LGBTQ plus Pride event, and the next year it was expanded into a resource fair that included PrEP and gender affirming care, as well as Lambda legal advice for people in our community. I'm a state captain for Metaviver, the Washington State captain, and I created the Mount Vernon Period Pantry when I saw the sad state of menstrual products available in our local schools. I bought a minibus and renovated it to give out inclusive breast cancer supplies to people facing a breast cancer diagnosis. And I even co-authored a cookbook celebrating Skagit farmers. I'm deeply invested in my community, and service is my passion. The people who built Mount Vernon are immigrants and wage earners. And I think that we need to take a stand to protect them. That's the main focus of my campaign. And I am out of time, so I'll tell you more later.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now we move on to the question and answer portion of our forum. And just to remind you, you have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. And we'll start with Stephanie. Question, what do you see as the primary responsibilities of a city council member?
So I think that my responsibilities as a city council member would focus on 3 main points. We need to have a city that's accessible for everyone. Mount Vernon residents deserve community spaces that everyone can use and enjoy, but accessibility also means a city government that is transparent and approachable. From navigable sidewalks to translation services to public meetings, accessibility benefits us all. Point 2 is a city where people don't disappear. We value the contributions of immigrants and protect them. We value the life experience of senior citizens and we include them. We value the humanity of people experiencing homelessness and we help them and offer support services. Point 3 is a city that honors its people. Cultural, community, and historical celebrations keep us connected to our neighbors. It's also the reason that we all love calling Mount Vernon home. When we have fun together, we understand each other, and we can work together. And those, I think, would be the 3 most important things I would like to address as a city council member.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. We'll hold our applause until the very end. We'll give them both a good, healthy round of applause at the end. Can you hear in the back? Okay, they can hear.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, yes. So Demi, I'll repeat the question. What do you see as the primary responsibilities of a city council member?
The 3 responsibilities, I believe, are affordable housing. And with affordable housing, I think we need to be looking for rezoning, changing some of our policies so that we have more housing available for middle income, smaller income, and the seniors. And after that, I would start to approach public safety. Our public safety is lacking in value and attendance, and I would be more concerned with raising more of our capabilities with our sorry. So affordable housing, I will start over, excuse me. Affordable housing, public safety, and financial responsibilities are the 3 things that I'm looking for the most. Financial responsibility with our policies at hand, with our budget that's coming up, and as far as public safety, I'm looking for how to help our infrastructure better with our police, our parks, and our fire. Those would be the 3 things that I would look for the most.
Okay, thank you, Demi. Next question. And Demi, you would be first on this.
Yep.
What specific skills and experience do you bring to this role, and what have you done to prepare yourself to be a city council member?
So specifically, I am a nurse and a coach. I have volunteered on several different nonprofit boards. I have held positions where I have to make tough decisions. And I believe that with coaching and volunteering, sometimes you have to make hard decisions. You have to weigh both options. So you have to look at both sides of the coin, right? You don't always agree, but you have to do the hard work. You have to look at both ends of the spectrum. and make those hard decisions. As far as preparing, I have been regularly attending city council meetings. I have been studying the city budget. I've been looking at the city work. And I have been rallying out there, campaigning, trying to find out from you, the residents, just what it is that you truly need and your concerns truly are.
Thank you, Demi. Stephanie?
So I'm an educator for young adults and adolescents with developmental disabilities. And my students are one of the big reasons why I think that I have something unique to offer the city of Mount Vernon. My students really use their city, and they really rely on a smoothly functioning city as well. They access a lot of public services like parks, public transportation, community centers, rec classes. They need safe, well-maintained sidewalks. They need caring, well-trained emergency response professionals, including police and EMTs. They love the library. Every single day I see how essential these programs are, and I utilize them too. So I think that when we focus on the needs of the many, we can get a lot done. I don't think most people have the insight into the needs of the people who really, really use our city. And I do. I think that my list of all of the ways that I've volunteered, that doesn't need to be restated, but I have been deeply invested in my community. I've sat on so many nonprofit boards, and I do also, like Demi, I attend a lot of the city council meetings, and I love our city of Mount Vernon, and I'm so deeply invested in it.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Next question. We're going to start with you, Stephanie. Considering the tight financial situation in Mount Vernon, what are your top 2 budget priorities?
Top 2 budget priorities. Well, the housing crisis is not news to anybody who lives in Mount Vernon, probably not news to anybody who lives in Skagit Valley. We are absolutely in the throes of a housing crisis, and we do need desperately to have housing available for the people who have built Mount Vernon. Wage earners and working families can no longer afford to live here. They can't afford to rent a home, even if there were rentals available, which there are not. The rental inventory is shockingly low. So one of the things that I think we would most quickly need to address is finding small developers who really have a stake in Mount Vernon and Mount Vernon's success. We don't need more sprawl. We need people who are willing to invest their businesses and their time in Mount Vernon. I also think that we need to be smart about our funding for things like police and fire and EMS services. I was privileged to sit down with Chief Dan Chrisman and with Fire Chief Brian Harris, and they both shared some really interesting ideas about grants that they've been working on independently. But a city grant writer, I think, is something that could be really beneficial for many different agencies and organizations that the city works with.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And Demi?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Considering the tight financial situation in Mount Vernon, what are your top 2 budget priorities?
Well, like Stephanie, one of my priorities will be the housing crisis. I have 2 examples in my own home. I have a son who's 21 years old, graduated from college, who can't afford to move out, and I also have my mother living back at home with me after recently being widowed because she's kind of been pushed out of her house also. I think we need to look at other developers that could possibly bring, different types of ADUs. You can bring in the cottage style housing. You can find the missing middle housing. We need to think about not just apartment living, but we need to think about, yes, maybe we have businesses on the bottom and apartments on the top, but we definitely need to find something that we have more affordable for all of our residents here, because we are missing housing at all the income levels, especially the lower income. And after that, I see the $6 million deficit coming, and we need to start thinking about how we're going to prioritize things. I do know that, yes, the police and the fire are going after safer grants and things to bring in more firefighters for them too. but we need to look at our own. We all live under a budget. We have to come down to a budget, and that is our main reason for being on council, is we're supposed to pass a budget. So we need to start thinking smarter about smarter growth and adapting some growth that is more profitable for the residents and not just the taxpayers.
Okay, thank you, Demi. Last question. In your opinion, what action should the city take to accommodate expected future growth? And we'll start with Stephanie.
Well, like I said, I think that one of the things we need to be really smart about is the developers that we partner with. I think that we need to be sustainable in our growth, not only environmentally, but sustainable in that we have people who want to live in the places that we build. We need to make sure that the housing we're building is not in skeezy areas that nobody wants to move to, but in the beautiful downtown area where there's a bus line that we can make more robust. Places that, want to attract, or places that attract businesses that would like to start, make a walkable neighborhood for people. I think that there are so many ways that we can grow smarter and not bigger, which seems to have been the goal for a lot of years in Mount Vernon. I keep getting distracted by the time signs, I'm sorry. That's my own kind of neurodivergence. But, the growth that we've been experiencing hasn't been sustainable. We had so many people move here from COVID times because it's so gorgeous to live here, and they realized they could work from home. But now we've got to have a place to put them all, and a reason to make them stay.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Demi?
I really love living around here, and I think the beauty and the character of Mount Vernon speaks so much for itself. But I do think that we need to be accountable. On the comprehensive plan, I've been involved with that for several different committees, and we need to start preparing for housing. We need to start preparing for how our public safety is going to deal with all of these influx of people coming. How is our fire going to handle it? How are our parks departments going to handle that? And what that's going to look like. Also, I am concerned, with some of the, like Joanne Fabrics going out of business. What kind of businesses can we bring in that can also help us with revenue, that can help us with jobs, that can help the taxpayers not feel so burdened that everything is on their shoulders, right? So we need to go get with different other groups. We need to go with other grants and work outside of us to bring in something that's great and sustainable and that can help us all here in the city of Mount Vernon.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's it for the question period. Now we have your closing statements, and again, you'll have 1.5 minutes for your closing statement, and we'll begin with Demi.
Great. I just want to say thank you so much tonight. It's been a really great pleasure to be here and to be able to speak in front of everybody. I've never done this before, so thank you for your support for me being here. I feel I am the most qualified candidate to be a council member because I have prepared. I have been regularly attending council meetings. I've been studying city work and the budget. I have built my career on service, accountability, and care. Whether I'm advocating for fair hiring practices or providing hands-on care and healthcare, I always put people first. My commitment to this community runs deep. Through my years of coaching and refereeing in soccer, volunteering on local boards, and mentoring your youth, I will give 110% of myself. With the voters' support, I will continue to serve Mount Vernon with that same dedication and passion as I do to every role in my life. This isn't about party politics for me. It's about the people, and it's about showing up for each and every one of you. You each have a story. Your voice matters, and I want to be here to help you to create a Mount Vernon that we can all be proud of. So thank you again for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Demi. And Stephanie?
Thank you to the League of Women Voters. You're a stalwart in our community, and I'm so grateful for you including me. So I'm a disabled renter. I'm a busy mother of 3 kids who have gone through Mount Vernon Public Schools. I have a job. I'm a wage earner. A lot of Mount Vernon looks like me, but I don't see myself represented in local politics very often. Listening to people and connecting is one of my absolute favorite things to do. I don't think I have all the answers, but what I do have is a deep bench of people I trust to tell me the truth. With endorsements from the Skagit County Democrats, the Sierra Club, Skagit Indivisible, the Washington chapter of the National Women's Political Caucus, the National Organization for Women Washington, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, and 3 sitting city council members, among other small business owners and pillars of our community, I think I'm well positioned to represent the many and not the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. We want you all to know that after the forum, all the candidates will be out in the foyer. If you'd like to have a meet and greet and ask them personal questions, you can do that. And we'd like to let all you candidates know that we really appreciate you offering your time and talent to our communities. It's very obvious that you're passionate. And we thank you for being here tonight, and we wish you all good luck in the primaries. And a round of applause for our candidates. And Don Wick has a closing statement as well.
Well, thank you all for being here, and I would like to thank, once again, the forum by thanking all the candidates. Let's hear it again for the candidates. Yes. And to the voters, please remember to vote on or before August 5th, either by returning your ballot by mail or in a ballot drop box. All are welcome to become members, by the way, of the League of Women Voters of Skagit County. And the table, just as you're going out on your right, you'll see a membership form. If you're not a member, please fill it out. And you probably came with a checkbook so that, we could handle this whole thing tonight. Thank you so much for that. And we are in a police facility, and never mind, in case you don't decide to join, we can never. Please be a voter and encourage others to do so. Again, it's August 5th, on or before. And thank you to the League of Women Voters, Skagit County, President Jan Vilders, timekeepers Wendy Sanderson and Susie Wilson now, and the organizing committee. And let's hear it for our moderator. Yes, Amy Erie. Thank you, Amy. You're awesome. Thank you all for being here. Good night. Thank you.